designers, this is Miss Evans and I'm going to walk you through how to prepare your logo files for client delivery. And I'll go kind of quickly through this first part because you should understand what this is about. Obviously this is just type in a box that was just typed out using the type tool, and I can still go in and edit it and work with spacing and that type of thing in the character panel. However, you get the most power when you create outlines from this type. So I'm going to select this and go to Type, Create Outlines. And that's going to make each one of these a shape, as you know, and it is grouped, so I will ungroup it so that the individual letters are available. This star was just made using the star tool, so it doesn't have to be converted at all. But in order to go from this to this, of course there were several things, but one of them was manually adjusting the spacing of all of these things and doing those designer things that you know how to do to create unique custom logo types or word marks. So going from here, let me show you how you can tell whether or not type is type, live type, or if it is converted to outlines. And I'll just go up to the View menu and go to Outline, and if there are outlines around the letters, I can tell immediately that these are shapes. As you can see, these are all shapes. This is solid and it's in a rectangle, so I know that is live type and it is not converted to outlines. So in documenting your process for this project, you will go to the View menu and show outlines, and you will take a screen capture to show that yes, my type is outlines, it is no longer live text. So that being said, you always want to save a copy of your file with live text in case you need to go back for a portfolio or for a client or what have you. It's really hard to go back a year or even just months later and say, oh, what font was that? If you open the font or open the file and there are live text in there, it's very easy to locate the font. So for delivering logos, you don't ever want to give them the font because those things are licensed. And if you've paid for the rights to use that font, you do not have the rights to give it away or share it with anyone. So that's why we do not include font files with logo files. To get out of this view, we go back to View and do GPU Preview to get back. You can also tell these cues around that. Look, that is a text box. We've got the in and the out. This is a shape. You can see the anchor points. Okay? All right. So I'm going to kind of get rid of these because I don't need them anymore. We're going to assume that I have backed that up into another file and my type is now converted to outlines, which it is here. And so that number one, create outlines, is done. So now we're going to remove unused color swatches. And so in my swatches panel, I'm going to look here. I'm going to go up to my options and go to select all unused. And it's going to select all the swatches that are not used in this. Now there's one green swatch that I have used here, but it's way down here and I probably need to get rid of it, but I will get rid of it in the end. So no worries there. I know that that green is not supposed to be in here, but the rest of the colors are part of the logo. So we've got to keep those, but that's how you strip it on down to only the colors that matter. Also, notice that these are CMYK colors. That's what I designed this in. I would assume that unless you were designing only for screens, you wouldn't design it in RGB. You'd want to go with either Pantone or CMYK. Okay, now I am back in, I pasted this in a larger document because I wanted to show you how to adjust the artboard so that the logo has a small buffer area around it, and then center align the logo to the artboard. So this is our artboard. We have two ways to get in touch with that. We can go to Window, Artboards for our Artboards panel here, and we can name the artboard here. I'm going to name this based on the logo. This is the color logo. I'm going to name it that, and I can go here and I can adjust the width and the height and all that good stuff here, or I can do it visually using the Artboard tool. And so if I hold down the Option key or Alt key, I am proportionally scaling here from the center. Well, not proportionally, but I am scaling from the center. So I have a lot of freedom to kind of tighten this up. Now, depending on the orientation of your logo, it may be more square than mine is kind of here rectangular. I'm going to give it a little room around, so I've just basically cropped the artboard by using this Artboard tool. Now, it hasn't taken effect yet because I haven't clicked anywhere, and usually I just press the selection tool. You can also probably press return, and that is now the size of our artboard. At that point, if I duplicate this, and what that just did is just zoomed in, so no worries. If I want to duplicate this artboard, and I can rename it, I'm going to call it black, because, and I am zooming out, yes, because I'm going to change this. I'm going to tweak this a little bit to get it to be a monotone black logo. I'm going to switch back over to show you what that looks like. There's no special trick to doing it. It's not grayscale, it's monotone black. So I'm going to keep it black only, and there's no special little trick for it. I really had to do a lot of decision making in getting this color logo to straight up black and white. So let's kind of go back. And this is what I came up with. And yes, it is a little bit different in terms of I don't have the dimensions and I don't have all these little the stars inside, but I do have, you know, basically what we're dealing with. This is a stripped down black and white logo, and it is clean, so there's no doubled up shapes in here. You want to work as clean, as efficiently as possible. All of this is, you know, use the Pathfinder to make it a compound path, and this outlined part, you watched videos last lesson about how to get this offset path, and I tweaked it a little bit with the offset path. I kind of went in with the pencil tool, and I'll show you how that works. If I want to make some adjustments to this, which I did when I added the offset path, you can use your pencil tool and kind of run over the line to adjust how that kind of fills in. I'm not going to keep that because I want it to match my other logo, but I did go in and make sure that these were filled in. I don't want any little tiny white areas. I want to really take control of the shape of this. I probably could have smoothed that there. I smoothed this a little bit just to get everything as kind of a rounded look, even though these letters are squared off. Be really aware of all these little details. You are in control of this. So if it doesn't look right, you don't say, oh, it was the font. Oh, it's how the spacing was. Who's in charge of that? You. And once you break that connection from the font to this type, which you do as soon as you create outlines, you are in total control. Okay? So this is the black logo, and I'm going to show you how to align it. You align it to the artboard because this is our artboard, but I'll align it horizontally and vertically, and it will put it on this in the center. Now it may not look visually centered because we've got this little part hanging down and it's kind of kicking it up a little bit, but it's going to be the same on all of our artboards. So we want to make sure that they're all the same. Okay, so I'm going to make a copy of the black one. And I have already duplicated that into a white artboard over here. And because I'm working with a white logo, I had to put a background color, and this is where that green came from. I just needed something behind there, and I didn't want it to be one of the colors in the logo. So I put green back here for temporary so that you could see what I am doing. So I copied the black logo and I'm going to paste it in place so that it is in the center. I can double check that by going like this. And at this time there is a trick that you can use to inverse the black and make it white. So I'm going to go to Edit, Edit Colors, and I am going to invert the colors. Boom, there's white. Now notice that these letters are punched out, just like a donut. There is a hole in this logo, and that's to allow whatever color is behind to show through. If you were going to put a white logo on a magazine, let's say of a photo, the white would allow the text to be readable. Because even if there's texture going on inside here, as long as it's not really, really light or white, the logo type name will show through. So let's kind of go through that again. You're like, what? How did you do that? Okay, I have the black logo. I'm going to go to Edit, Edit Colors, and while we're here, let's just look at this stuff. You can adjust colors, you can convert to CMYK if you designed something in RGB, or Pantone, and that might be a situation where your client wants a spot color logo, but perhaps that logo is going to be put into a publication that's 4-color printing, CMYK, and you want to go ahead and convert it for them, that's fine. If we had something and we wanted to make it grayscale, we could convert it to grayscale. But we're working with a monotone black, so we don't want any grays in there. It's going to really force you to look at the logo design you have, decide what can be stripped out to keep the integrity of the logo there, and we don't want to go grayscale with this. So we're going to invert the colors, because when we invert, it goes from black to white or white to black. So if I inverted this one, it would go back to black. So that's how we have our 3 different logos. We've got color, black, white. And at this point, I am going to select the green here, and I'm going to delete it. We can't see this. I guess I'll show you the outline. There it is. And I'll go back to my swatches, select all unused, and see that green is now selected, and I'm going to delete it. So now this file has all of the colors that I need. Notice that this file, this logo file, does not have black in it. So that's fine. It's fine to add black and white to a color logo that doesn't have it, because we're not adding colors to the logo. We're just managing the swatches so that if anyone else had to deal with this file later, we had to hand it off to another designer or a printer or someone, that they could manage the colors really easily. And you wouldn't believe how grateful printers are when designers give them files that are really efficient and smartly built. They will love you, and having a great relationship with a printer is one of the most valuable things I can recommend to you. So many things are online these days, but if you have a local printer or even someone at an office shop that you work with to proof your work or print out color versions of your work, that is really valuable, because you can ask them questions about what will work, how would paper impact your design, and what folds are available, and what things they can do to help you produce great work. Because we have named our artboards in a smart way, creating the files for a client is going to be easy. So number 1, I'm going to save as, we want an EPS file. Okay, so the name of this is Logotype Demo. That's what I named mine. You will have a different name. But if you use the artboards, it's going to add color, black, white, to the end. So if I decide to tell Illustrator, use the artboards, and I want to create EPS files, I can save them. I'm going to go with a high resolution and click OK. In my Finder, you can see I've got Logo Demo white, black, and color. If you want to kind of make these names more consistent, underspaces or underscores are so last century. Yeah, I like to get rid of those. So you have those three files, and I can just on a Mac press spacebar, and you can see the white is there. I promise. And an EPS is a vector file. It is editable by anyone that has Illustrator, CorelDRAW, maybe Inkscape. There are a few other ways you can open them up, but see how easy that was to create those formats for this. Okay, now we're going to save as and create PDF file. I am going to use my artboards and save. Okay, what it did, it created 3 pages in one PDF file. That's fine. You can go into Acrobat Pro and divide those up, or if you're like, well, I don't want to deal with that, then save as PDF and tell it what you want to do. Do you want to do the first one? Okay, then I'm going to add color and save. And I'm going to save again. And I'm going to choose page 2, which we know is black. So I'm going to do black. And same again. Third one, white. Make sure I am on the third artboard. All right. There's one more, and we want to save as an SVG. Right here it is. You can use our artboards here. Save. I'm not going to change anything about this. I'm going to just click OK. The defaults are fine. And you can see my SVGs were here. Now SVGs are used for I know I use SVGs with a digital cutter. They can also be used online. So there's lots of uses for those. Again, vector, scalable, editable. Let's get to our ready-to-use file formats, which would be a PNG with a transparent background or a JPEG. All right, we are now going to look at the Asset Export panel, which you can get to through Window Asset Export. And assets are things that, it's artwork that you would use elsewhere. You can create any number of web graphics formats from this panel. And I've zoomed out so I can see all 3 of my artboards. So I'm going to select all through Command or Control A. And here I have the ability to generate multiple assets from the selection. So I'm going to click that, and I can see there's my white logo, this is my black, and this is the color. So by naming those, that's going to determine what the file name is going to be when we kind of export these out. Now the default when you are looking at these export settings is 1x, and it may actually be a PNG or PDF. And so we are going to choose a width because my logo is horizontal, so the largest dimension is going to be width, and I'm going to change that to 1920, which is suggested in the lesson. And the reason being is we want to give the client large enough, ready to use file that they don't have to scale it up, because we don't want them to run into pixelation or artifacts or anything like that. So you've got two ping choices here. Ping 8 is like a GIF file. It's got a limited color palette, while a ping will allow you to have lots of colors and many layers of transparency. That being said, we want to make sure that in our format settings, our background is transparent, because if you don't change the default, it usually defaults to white. And that's not going to really do much for us with this ping file. So I've got the scale is going to be the width of 1920. It's a ping format, and I'm going to export. And so here I've got my different color. And this color here, this is transparency. So you can see that it's showing right through. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I can go back in and add, my logo type, demo-white, just so all the names of my files match up. Because we want the client to have an easy time figuring out what's what. And I can move these into the different folder structure that I've developed here. So we've got white logos, color logos, and black logos. And then this is my original layered source file, which unless the client and I decide that that's an asset that they want and can use, I don't include it, because they more than likely do not have Adobe software. They won't know what to do with it. They won't be able to open it. So keep your original files. Keep them. I have had clients come back after 6 years wanting to update a graphic, and I had the file. I didn't have to recreate anything. Didn't take too long, and they were happy, and it was great. So let's kind of use this same process, but we are going to choose JPEG. Now, 180, 50, and 20, these are degrees of quality. And I'm going to go ahead and do 100. Even though we have this format settings for transparent background color, JPEG does not support transparency. So the files that are exported here are all going to have white backgrounds. So I'm going to export those. And it tells me the width, and it also tells me the quality. Now you can see this is not showing me any transparency, and the white is not going to do anything. So a white JPEG is not going to do much of anything. If they really do want a white JPEG, I would probably have to go in and add a black line around everything. That's not really going to work, so I'm just going to delete that. Because if they need a white logo, I'm going to steer them toward the PNG, because that's what's going to make most sense. But you just never know what the client's going to get into, and they may need these files. Thanks so much.